No worries, awesome, buddy. Thank you very much. Cheers, Ethan, for getting us set up. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be watching this back. If you're sort of catching up later on in the week, maybe you've been working the course around other stuff that's going on, you know. So we are on Wednesday, and we are on the final session actually of our pre-employability and wellbeing course, and it's absolutely flown over the last 7 weeks. It feels like only 2 minutes since we were getting started and sort of going down this journey, and here we are sort of wrapping it up at the end, you know. So what we're going to be looking at this morning is kind of one of the biggest areas, I would say, that we probably haven't looked at so far, and that's looking at actual body types and components of fitness as well. So we're looking at genetically, you know, how people are born different. We're all different shapes and sizes. I don't know two people that are entirely the same. You know how you get identical twins with differences, you know, make that one make sense. But yeah, I'm going to be kind of just sort of, because I'm on by myself this morning, I'm just going to be kind of following along with the chat in the background like I always am. And like I say, I'll just sort of keep an eye in there and keep an eye on your guys' comments and stuff like that. So yeah, we're going to be looking at how we might have different body types that is just sort of genetic and we're sort of predisposed to have, and we're going to be looking at how that might actually impact our not abilities, because we should never be strictly limited by our shape and our size and whatever it is, but looking at how different body types will have different strengths and different weaknesses, I guess, you know, and how, you know, someone who is really built in a way that lends them to being really, really strong, they might not necessarily be the fastest person out there, you know. So we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, and I guess it's a really good place to start with your own fitness again. You know, maybe right now you're thinking about, okay, how do I start getting active again? What does it even mean to be active? You know, because that's such a wide scale and it's a spectrum for people, isn't it? You know, active to some people means getting out and running like 5 miles every other night, and active to some people means going out for a little walk and getting down the beach, go for a stroll, stretch your legs off. So, you know, we're all at a different place with our fitness. So it's a really good chance to assess, okay, what's important to me, you know, yourself as an individual. Like when you say fitness, what does it mean? What is it? Is it strength? Is it sort of like the ability to run for a long time or do a lot of stuff before you get tired? You know, is it someone who can just move really well? You know, maybe someone who I've sort of class people in the gym who maybe 60, 70, 80 years old as fit, you know, not because they're off running a marathon like a couple of times a year, but because they're getting to the gym a few times a week, they're active, you know, they're sort of doing a lot of their own stuff at home as well, you know. That's enough to be active. I've just seen Gaz is getting in this morning. Gaz, nice to have you in, buddy. I hope you're well, mate. You know, just sort of having a little bit of a catch up on body types and like I say, just sort of different components of fitness and why some people are more just naturally gifted at certain stuff. You know, like for example, like I've always been quite good at running because I'm quite light. I don't carry a lot of mass. I've always been quite good over long distances. Like if I go to play rugby or like if I went to do some sumo wrestling or something like that, I'm just going to get absolutely annihilated, you know. So again, that's just being able to sit and look, okay, this is sort of a strength of mine, that's a weakness of mine, and then thinking about, is that weakness something that I would like to improve? Is it something that I feel like I need to improve right now? Because like something that we've talked about in the past as well, you know, if you're trying to improve everything all at the same time, like you're trying to build muscle and you're trying to lose fat and you're trying to get faster across like a mile, you know, or whatever it is, and you're trying to work on your flexibility, it's so hard to do it all at once. So having an idea how these things are separate and what they all mean and the way that they impact our fitness can give you an idea of like what's most important to you, where are you going to start now, and what is the thing that you would like to start working on first, you know, because it's almost like a divide and conquer sort of approach. You know, I'm going to just focus on this, I'm going to lose this weight, then I'm going to move on and I'm going to try and gain a little bit of mass. Then I'm going to work on my flexibility. And you can work down the line like that, you know, and rather than trying to do it all at once, which is going to be quite a big overwhelming experience, you know, like each week you've just got something new to do or something new to focus on. Or once you hit a goal, you've got something new to focus on. And you can just say sort of focused on one thing at a time, which makes it easier to track. Are you moving in the right direction or are you not? But I'm definitely getting ahead of myself there. So we'll just take it from the top. We'll take our time, work it through. Like I say, I've got one eye on the chat, and we'll just sort of go from there, guys. Gary says I'm naturally gifted at eating. Do you know what, mate? It's a skill that I wish I was blessed with. Do you know what I mean? I'm like notorious baby belly. Like I'll make like a big old meal, and I get halfway through it, and I'm just beaten. Like I'm just absolutely knackered. I've never had a big appetite, but then there's realizing, okay, like for myself, it was a case of, right, there's some days in the gym that I might get a chance to eat or train. And for me, it was eating, because I was getting a lot of activity in my day-to-day sort of life. Getting my food sorted was more important, So again, maybe you've got like quite an active lifestyle. Maybe you aren't at the gym every day. Maybe you don't have a gym membership. Maybe the gym's just not for you at all. But maybe maybe working in construction and you've got quite an active lifestyle, then the best place to start probably would be with your food. Rather than thinking about what exercise you're doing, because you're already getting some level of activity in there, So yeah, we've all got different strengths, we've all got different weaknesses, and like I say, that is why what works for one person when it comes to a fitness plan, a training routine, what works for one person won't necessarily work for anybody else, really. It shouldn't, when you think about how different we all are. Sort of something that I've mentioned before in the past. I think of us all as, I know snowflakes has come to be quite a derogatory term these days, but we are all snowflakes in the sense that we are all identical. We're all unique. No two of us are identical. So if we think about it that way, and we're all so different, how on earth would the training plan or the food plan for somebody else work for you? Like, it doesn't make any sense, really, when you think about it that way, So again, we're just going to take that step back, peel back all the layers, and we're going to be thinking about, right, guys, what is important to you when it comes to fitness? And just like I say, starting to identify some of these different components and think about, okay, maybe it's like I've done a little bit of that before. Maybe I feel like I'm good at that. Maybe you actively stay away from something because you've identified it as a weakness, I see it quite a lot in training and in the gym and stuff like that. So we'll take our time, guys, and we'll just have a little bit of a work through. So like I say, we've got our three main different body types, really. And that is, we've got our ectomorph, a mesomorph, and our endomorph. And we're just going to take a second to look at each of those. And you might find that you sort of relate quite a lot to one of them. You tend to find that these are very sort of broad, generic, and a lot of people are somewhere between two of them. We tend to be a mix of usually two, to be honest. So again, have a little bit of a think, because being able to identify your own body type can lay the foundation for, okay, what sort of exercise is going to be suitable for me, or what am I going to be more naturally sort of able to do. I sort of stress all the time, just because your body type is the wrong type to naturally be good at something doesn't mean you can't do it and get good. It doesn't mean that you can't go and be no good and still enjoy yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not always about doing it good. But when it comes to finding sustainable exercise, I tend to find that something that is a little bit more manageable, something that doesn't leave you feeling like, I can't do this. I can't ever see myself being able to do this. It can be a little bit disheartening, and it can make you a little bit more inconsistent rather than consistency. So if you can find something that you are more naturally sort of tilted towards, then that can actually be a little bit of a win to get you moving in the right direction, especially now stuff's opening up again, restrictions are lifting, and there's so many ways to get moving and get active out there. It's not just the gym, it's not just going and running on a treadmill, it's not just chucking weights around. There's so much that we can do. We've got swimming, we've got rock climbing, we've got walking groups, you've got, of course, obviously public footpaths you can go out and explore by yourself. Can you go out cycling? We've got the beaches, and hopefully, the weather's not so nice today, but certainly over this way, hopefully we'll have certainly a few more days before the back end of the year where we can get out and enjoy just the countryside and a little bit of nature as well. So it's not all about putting the old 118 sweatband on and getting yourself down the gym and just putting yourself through the motions. There's so many more ways to get active, to get healthy, to get fit, that'll be so much more rewarding and engaging to yourself. And what we're looking at this morning can actually start to pick some of that apart and just give you an idea where you are and where is a good place to start. So an ectomorph is something that I massively relate to myself, always have. A person who is naturally thin, considered to have an ectomorph body. These types of people are genetically predisposed to have this type of body and are typically skinny their entire lives, generally due to an extremely fast metabolism. Those with an ectomorph body usually have difficulty building muscle mass. Now, there are ectomorph bodybuilders out there, but at the same time, I realized early on in my training and my sort of PT career that with my genetics, I can train as much as I want and eat as much as I want. I'm never going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger because I don't have his genetics. I could. It's a blessing and a curse, It's a double-edged sword, where people have always said, "Oh, look, I'm dead jealous that you can pretty much eat whatever you want and not really put any weight on." And I'm like, in a way, that is a handy position to be in. At the same time, if I did want to put a little bit of weight on, like I have done in the past, or put a little bit of muscle on, it's a hard, long, sometimes tedious process because we're not naturally built to build muscle mass, really, and we're genetically, like I say, quite sort of lean. And we're going to get an example in just a second of what or of somebody with this sort of body type, and again, if you sort of in the chat, if you sort of got an eye on the chat, if you've come across this sort of thing before, maybe you haven't, if you can think of any athletes or anything that fit into this body type, by all means just pop it in the chat, because it's quite interesting to see people's different takes, and of course looking into different sports and different areas that I might not necessarily be in tune with sort of week to week as well. So that's just a brief look at endomorph. We can see from the picture on the left that of course they're naturally quite slim, narrow shoulders, and I certainly don't have long limbs at all, but of course, sometimes the narrower something is, the longer it looks as well, So, the ectomorphs can look quite long and sort of lend themselves to that lanky sort of approach as well, or that sort of lanky physique. Then we have an endomorph, which is kind of the other end of the spectrum, is the way that I always say it. So we've got a rounder body with a waist that is often bigger than the chest. So we've got almost sort of like a barrel-shaped torso or barrel-shaped core. People with this body type often have shorter arms and legs, the upper part of the limb longer than the lower part. Yeah, so just for example, an endomorph, the upper part of the limb, so from shoulder down to elbow, is normally longer from elbow down to wrist. It might seem pretty arbitrary and unimportant for yourselves, potentially, in terms of when you're doing certain exercises, from a mechanical point of view and from like the way the body moves, this sort of build lends themselves more towards, say, deadlifts, just because of the length of the femur compared to the shin, and they might be more naturally built like that, whereas the other way around, you might be more naturally inclined to squats and the likes and stuff like that. So again, it can have a little impact on sort of exercises in the gym that you're more naturally sort of gifted to. But of course, we're thinking about just exercise in general, activity in general, and of course there are certain exercises that an ectomorph probably isn't going to go and do. I've mentioned sumo wrestling, I've mentioned like rugby, not to say that there aren't positions in rugby for an ectomorph to fit into. An endomorph might not necessarily be suited to long distance running. The more mass you carry, the more taxing it is on your body. So the longer or the more wear and tear it's going to have on your joints, the more the harder your heart and your cardiovascular system are going to have to work to get the blood around your body as well. So again, not to say that you can't do something and sort of go and do whatever it is that you love and whatever it is that you try. It is just be aware that there are certain things that you might be more naturally sort of gifted to. And like I say, when it comes to running in particular, I've found that a lot of people that are running don't need to be running. It's like they're doing running as a way to get their lungs working and burn calories. And there are a lot of different ways you can do that without the impact on the ankles, the knees, the hips. Again, if you enjoy running, fill your boots, knock yourself out, go for it. Like, nobody's going to come along and stop you doing exercise that you love doing, and nor should they, but like I say, at the same time, I've met a lot of people in the gym over the years who are running on the treadmill. I go and speak to them and all they want to do is a little bit of weight loss, get a little bit healthier, and it usually turns out that they're pretty bored of running as well, because they see it as the only option that they've got, not realizing that you could probably burn as many calories, if not more, going and doing certain stuff with weights. Tweaking your food a little bit might mean that you've got to do less cardio, so you're actually putting less wear and tear and strain on your body from the exercise side of things, because you've got your nutrition a bit more sort of dialed in. So again, there are sort of not limitations. I don't like the word limitations. Like I say, I don't want to put anybody in a box and say this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. But yeah, it just sort of, it helps to have an idea what you're more naturally sort of, like I say, sort of built towards. Like I say, certain things like sort of the track and field sort of stuff that I did in PE, or that we've probably all done in PE or in school in some capacity, be it in shot put, realised pretty quickly I was naff at the shot put. I don't have much mass. I'm not going to move much mass very far. The same thing applies to the likes of a javelin or a discus, whereas I was good across long distance running, I was good across short distance running, relatively good at long jumps and high jumps and jumping, because I was always quite sort of explosive, and again, don't have much mass to get off the ground. It's easier to get 10 stone off the floor than it is to get 20 stone off the floor. So again, I found myself doing a lot of football, a lot of running, and all of those sort of sports over the years, rather than leading myself to something that I would probably be at a bit of a disadvantage at, just being that little bit lighter. Okay, guys, so that was endomorph, and just probably worth mentioning as well, these people tend to store fat easily and can gain muscle easily as well. So if they're training really, really good, they're going to be building muscle, especially if they've got the food dialed in. Like, that food normally does need to be pretty good, to be making sure that because like I say, they store fat easily, so you don't want a lot of excess calories in the diet, because that body type has no problem storing that as fat. Usually a little bit of that slower metabolism, so your body's burning calories a little bit slower, so when you're eating more, your body just converts what's left into fat and stores it. And like I say, once you've got the food side a little bit more sorted, like, this body type can just so easily gain muscle. I've seen guys like this over the years. Like, you can be in really, really good shape and still have an endomorph body shape. If you look at somebody like an Eddie Hall, or I don't know if I would class Tyson Fury as aesthetically in good shape, but in terms of conditioning, he's about as good as anybody at his level. Tyson Fury is an endomorph, and he's out there, multiple time world champion. So again, endomorph doesn't mean unfit. It doesn't mean has a load of weight to lose. It just means naturally broader, a little bit thicker set, and maybe carrying a little bit extra weight. And again, maybe just from the metabolism point of view, maybe you do store fat easily, and maybe you do gain muscle easily. It doesn't necessarily mean that you physically look a certain way. And like I say, it certainly doesn't mean that you're limited from what stuff that you can and can't go and do. So there's actually some really good strengths to being an endomorph that we're going to talk about in just a little bit when we're sort of exploring different sports and stuff. But just to sort of wrap these up, our last one that we need to look at this morning is a mesomorph. So it's the average build with the muscle definition and strength of an athlete. Normally quite broad shoulders, narrow waist. Mesomorphs build muscle easily and are generally more muscular than endomorphs or ectomorphs. A fast metabolism as well, helping this sort of body type lose fat and maintain weight when they're following a healthy diet and exercise program. So again, these people aren't superheroes if they aren't following a healthy diet and exercising. They're not going to necessarily just be building muscle out of nowhere. They're not going to be burning as much fat. They might be storing a little bit more fat. And an out of shape mesomorph can look and be more unfit than a sort of in shape endomorph, or active fit endomorph. There's nothing that says one of these body types is better than the other. I'm sure we can all pick elements out of each body type that we'd all love to have, but at the same time, we tend to get a mixture of one or two, and we tend to get the pros and cons that we get. And like I say, there's normally not a great deal that we can do to change it, you know. So a lot of it is just accepting the genetics that we've got, the build that we've got. Like I say, I within probably a year of training gave in any aspirations of the bodybuilding side of things and looked more towards moving well, being fit, being able to run and move and jump and squat and whatever, as well as being able to just have muscle, you know. And that was when I sort of changed my training. I totally revamped what my weekly sort of plan looked like, and it works better for me. You know, it always did work better for me rather than training, following. I was originally doing probably a mesomorph bodybuilding plan that had been passed on to one person, that had been passed on to another person, that had been passed on to my mate, and we're both ectomorphs, stood following this plan, and you know, ultimately in 6 months, not really making the progress that we wanted to because it wasn't planned for us. You know, at the end of the day, it was planned for somebody else who maybe builds muscle a little bit easier, doesn't need as much food, doesn't need as many reps, doesn't need as much volume. You know, ectomorphs might need to spend a little bit more time in the gym if you are looking at building muscle. You know, more reps, more exercises. So again, there's pros and cons to each. You know, like I say, I've definitely experienced both the pros and cons of being an ectomorph. I would say if I was either of the other two, you know, I'm probably bordering more towards mesomorph, where of course I can be quite lean, but naturally probably a little bit like strong for my size, you know, just sort of being analytical and thinking about it from that point of view, you know. But that is probably where I am. I'm probably more towards ectomorph, slightly towards mesomorph. So again, everybody's totally different, and where you are on that is going to sort of affect the fitness journey that's going to be most effective for you, you know. So guys, I've got a couple of different examples there on the screen, and you know, we'll just take a couple of minutes and see if you can have a guess for yourself. You don't necessarily have to put it in the chat, but you know, can we get an idea of which of these body types each of these athletes sort of fits into? You know, what are their characteristics? How are they different? So we can see straight away on the left-hand side, we've got a guy, Mo Farah, if you weren't sure. And, you know, if you don't know who he is sort of like, he's world champion, multiple time, Olympian, gold medalist for long distance running, pretty much. I mean, like, you're talking, the guy is essentially like a human Duracell battery. I've never seen anything like it in my life, to be honest. Like I say, just over long distances, like if your money's going on any guy, it's someone who's built like this, you know. Or he's of course, he's not got broad shoulders, he's not got a huge amount of excess muscle on him, you know. His thighs and his arms and his shoulders aren't as big as the other guys. His chest probably not either, you know. So he's carrying less weight, you know. He's got naturally sort of skinny looking limbs. So it's probably safe to say that Mo Farah is a ectomorph. Yeah, so there's less of him to carry across long distances, so he has a bit of an easier time across long distances, you know. And like I say, really fast metabolism. I know that this guy just eats carbs and carbs and carbs for days, you know. That is something that you can look at, and we do explore on further courses as well, you know. Looking at how different body types need different percentages of foods, you know. An ectomorph can manage and intake a lot more carbohydrates without it starting to show and without starting to put weight on than an endomorph, you know. So again, that is a way that these body types sort of affect the way that we eat and the way that we train, and being able to identify it is a huge step. So we've got Mo Farah on the left hand side there, and like I say, he's an ectomorph. So we'll look at we'll come into the middle, and we've got Usain Bolt. Again, if you're not sure who he is, world record holder over the 100-meter sprint, multiple time gold medal winner, and at a time the fastest man alive, you know. A little bit of a title, a little bit of a moniker, but at the same time unarguable, I guess, you know. When he's setting records the way he's set them over the peak of his career, And again, we can see just from the pictures maybe why he's more suited to short distance. We can see sort of bigger glutes, bigger quads, bigger leg muscles in general, bigger arm muscles in general. So he's more powerful. He's got more mass to carry, but he's not going over as long a distance as Mo Farah. If you put Mo Farah and Usain Bolt in a race together, and it's long distance, Usain Bolt will be fast across the first 100 meters, but sooner or later he's going to burn out. He's the excess mass that he's carrying is going to catch up with him, probably as he watches Mo Farah go sailing by, and there's absolutely nothing he can do about it at that point. Whereas the other way around, if it was a short distance, Mo Farah doesn't have the muscle and the power to be as quick off the mark, to cover as much ground with every step. So in 100 meters, like, he wouldn't get any closer to Usain Bolt than anybody else has, really. Probably even less so. So again, yeah, we can see that he's more powerful. Of course, the lanky legs definitely helps, and having a bigger stride. And we can see that again, being that mesomorph shape that he is, he's not carrying much excess fat at all, because every gram of excess fat is, of course, more mass to carry across the distance as well. So Usain Bolt, pretty much undeniable mesomorph. He's quite he is athletic. That you don't go to the Olympics and win a gold medal several times if you're a bit athletic. Let's be honest. He's a little bit of a monster. He's built different, they might say. So again, if he as a teenager, as a young adult, if he didn't go down the athletics and the track and field route, and looking to make a career out of it, if he decided he wanted to do long distance running, who's going to stop him? He would probably get quite good at it, and he would certainly get better than he is, but he would never get to the point where he would be challenging Mo Farah, who just naturally has a lot of things going his way. So again, we can see how body types might not limit what you kind of can't do, but it will certainly limit what you could go and be the best at, or what you could excel at. So again, something to think about when we're thinking about activities for yourself going forward, and maybe how you're going to manage your own fitness post lockdown, and hopefully, again, touch wood, we get to the point where we can actually say post COVID as well. So we've done our ectomorph, we've done our mesomorph, which only leaves by process of elimination, our endomorph on the right hand side. A little confession to make: I've never really followed rugby too much. I don't know who this gentleman is himself, but of course, looking at rugby players in general and looking at this guy in general as well, we can see much broader. Like, if you were going to run into either of these three guys, like, he would be the guy that I would pick last. I think, he's going to be like running into a wall. We can see a lot more muscle. He's going to have a lot more power, but you can even see from like his midriff, he's nowhere near as lean as Mo Farah or Usain Bolt. Maybe his position within the sport needs him to carry a little bit more weight, pack a little bit more of a punch, rather than carry a lot of distance. Again, you do still see some rugby players that are lighter. Again, thinking about it, I think of it more from like a basketball point of view. If you've got like your center who's going to be built like, he's normally going to be a harder to move sort of person. Think Shaquille O'Neal, he's a big guy, really hard to move. And then you've got your point guards, which are smaller, more nimble, much more likely to be an ectomorph, usually a little bit of a shorter guy. So again, within rugby, there's different jobs, there's different positions that need you to do different things. And this guy in particular, he probably gets more benefit from carrying a bit of extra weight and, like I say, packing a bit more of a punch than having rock hard abs and being really, really lean. There's probably not much payoff for that in rugby. So again, thinking about the sort of sports that he's really sort of gifted towards, I guess, or sort of more naturally sort of inclined towards. So that's just a rough example of just being able to have a look and see visually the differences in these body types and the way that they show up in specifically in athletes. Because when we look at athletes, it's a really good way to see everything turned up to 11, I guess, to put it that way. Everything is so not exaggerated, but so pronounced, I guess, and everything's so defined, because these make a living, you know, and they're trying to be the best in the world. So 1% of body fat might make a world of difference between a podium finish and not, a gold medal and silver, you know. So we can really, really see all of these characteristics of each body type sort of amplified, you know. That's not to say that your own body type is going to be as sort of black and white, you know. You might not, you might be an ectomorph that's not as lean as Mo Farah. I'm not as lean as Mo Farah, you know. I don't need to be as lean as Mo Farah. I don't need to cover the distance that he does, you know. Again, my body type are probably, you know, in certain senses, have different strengths to all three of these people, just like you do watching at home. You're gonna have, no matter which of these you fit into, you're probably gonna have different strengths, you know, different weaknesses. So again, you know, it's a really good chance to see everything sort of, like I say, amplified, and then you can start to reflect on your own body type and your own fitness a little bit more. Right, guys. So we've had a look at the body types. And we're going to have a little bit of a look at components of fitness as well, like I sort of mentioned earlier on in the session. Really, really important for picking out which of these, you know, is the most important to you. Which of these would you like to develop first, improve first? Because trying to work on all of them at the same time is going to be nigh on impossible. There's not enough hours in the day to do training that's going to benefit all of these things and still fit in every other commitment that you've got to reach and sort of honour, you know, throughout your day. So just take a second to scan through these, and then we'll just have a little bit of a deep dive in and start having a look through them and discussing each one. But just take a second to think about, is there any of these that you've come across before? Do you know what they mean? Is there any that you're not sure what they mean? And then we'll get ourselves dived in. Ooh, okay, guys. Right. So, just starting top left, then we'll just break it down one at a time. And again, if there's any that you're not sure of, by all means, do just pop that in the chat. Okay, guys. So, cardiovascular or aerobic endurance is the idea of, so when we're talking cardiovascular or aerobic, we're thinking about your lungs and your heart, so like your cardiovascular system. So everything really that is working to pump blood around your body to deliver oxygen where we need it to be, essentially, you know. So when it comes to endurance, it's a case of how long can your body do that effectively and keep up with what you're asking it to do, you know. So again, if we go back to seeing Mo Farah, we can see that his cardiovascular endurance is probably going to be pretty good, you know, compared to the guy on the right hand side. Just thinking from the sport that he does rather than his body type, Mo Farah needs to go a long distance. You know, his body is used to and trained to make sure that his heart and lungs can keep up with the demand, I guess, the demand for oxygen. And you know, maybe if you're running, for example, do your legs get tired first, or is it a case of your heart and your lungs and your chest struggles to maintain that, you know? And that'll give you an idea. If that's the case, you know, maybe that's where your aerobic endurance needs a little bit of work or a little bit of improving, you know, which comes from just doing exactly the same thing, you know. Bring your heart rate up and keep it up there. And the longer you keep it up there, not only the better your body gets at working at that level, your body becomes more efficient at working at a resting point of view as well, you know, because if it's really, really good at working at like 140 beats per minute, you know, when you're resting, your body, your heart might only need to beat 40 to 60 times a minute, you know, a little bit easier, rather than if your body's not really good at doing that thing, even when you're just sitting down, then your heart rate could be 80 to 100 beats a minute, you know, just from it's not used to working at that higher level. And yeah, you know, this idea of just traveling across longer distances and how long your aerobic sort of system can keep up. Then we've got muscular strength, which is a lot more it's what it says on the tin, pretty much, you know. It's how much mass can you move of a short amount of time or for a short distance. It's maybe he's only doing something once. If you are doing a squat, what's the maximum weight you can do for one repetition? What's the maximum amount of weight you can do for one rep? And that'll give you an idea of your muscular strength. That's not muscular endurance, which is the next one that we've got on the list. Muscular endurance is how long your body, your muscle can continue to contract and keep working for a long amount of time. So muscular strength might be how much weight can you move for one squat? What's the maximum you can do for one squat? Muscular endurance might be how long does it take you to do 100 squats? Because when you get to 10 or 20, your legs start to burn. You need a little bit of a rest. How well is your body getting everything round to where it needs to be? Again, when it comes to running or cycling, are your legs burning and giving up on you? That's your muscular endurance letting you down a little bit. If it's your heart and your lungs that feel like they're struggling to keep up and your legs are relatively okay, your cardio or aerobic endurance needs a little bit of work. So straight away starting to separate these different areas of what could really broadly be classed as fitness. And you know what, there's not many people who have sort of elite level all of these things. Like I say, there's nobody out there who's all three body types and only has the best of both and not the worst of any of them. Body composition is a little bit of a strange one because body composition is a lot more sort of physical and it's a lot more dependent on the individual. So your body composition is essentially, what are you made up from? How much of it is mass? How much of it is muscle? How much of it is water? How much of it is fat? And that is where you might, if you ever heard somebody say like, oh, I'm 18% body fat or whatever it might be, that's reflecting on their body composition. So somebody might not really want to. If I was again working as a PT, somebody comes in the gym and they're not really wanting to get any more aerobically fit. They don't want to get any stronger. They don't really want any more muscular endurance, but they do want to work on their body composition and they do want to try and maintain the mass that they've got and reduce the body fat that they've also got, without losing that mass as well. So that is a different type of approach altogether. Like if someone's focus is on composition, like there are competitions out there dedicated to composition, if that makes sense. Kind of like bodybuilding. Bodybuilding shows are all about body composition. It's all about, can you get the maximum amount of mass? Can you get the minimum amount of body fat? Can you have them symmetrical? How aesthetically pleasing is the body? And it's all to do with composition, and again, different areas of these different components of fitness might come into that. But when it comes to body composition, all we're talking about really is like, what are you made up from? Your actual physique, how much of it, like I say, is mass, water, muscle. And then, like I say, that might be the one thing that you want to work on. Again, it comes down to the individual. And again, there's no right body composition. It all depends on what you need your body to do, I guess. Again, going back to this, for example, we can see that Mo Farah's body composition is totally different to like the runner's composition is totally different to the rugby player. At the same time, I'm pretty sure that Mo Farah's pretty happy with his body composition because it helps him do what he needs to do. And I'm sure that the rugby player is also happy with his body composition because it lets him do what he needs to do. If he had Mo Farah's body composition, if he looked at Mo Farah and went, oh, I'd love to have a build like that or a physique like that, he's going to become so much less efficient at his job, or the sport that he does or the activity that he does, So again, there's no right and there's no wrong body composition. That is just really what we're referring to when we talk about stuff like that. Muscular endurance is on there again because why not? We've covered that. Reaction time, we're thinking about how long it takes to identify a stimulus and, like it says, react to it. We're thinking a goalkeeper, for example, if you're in goal and someone puts a cross into the box and maybe it takes a deflection on the way through, or somebody has a shot and it hits a defender on the way through and the ball changes direction, like how fast can you register that and also make the physical reaction to actually sort of reflect that as well? That's where we're thinking about reaction time. Seeing it a lot in the Olympics at the minute, you know, even just the fastest off the mark. Fastest off the mark can sometimes make the difference. Again, especially over shorter distances, you know, be it sort of like a swimming competition, or be it again the 100 meters. 100-meter competitions can be lost on the reaction times and how fast you get off the mark. You know, if you get off the mark and you're already a pace behind everybody else, you've got a lot more work to do. You know, so that's where we're thinking about in terms of reaction time. You know, and how well we can sort of, like I say, respond to something that is changing or happening in the environment, I guess. Okay, guys. So then we are moving on to, and we've got flexibility. So flexibility, it might be a term that you've come across before. It is range of motion at your joints, I guess, you know, at different joints. Are your can your shoulders move as far as they should? Can your elbow and hips and stuff move as far as they should, or is there tightness there? You know, you see it a lot in now that we're a society that seems to sit down a lot more or spend a lot more of the day sitting down, especially over the last year. I'm seeing a lot of tight, believe it or not, tight chest muscles, because we're sitting hunched over, you know, potentially sort of shoulders are rounded forward, which means that these muscles here get shortened, which means that they get tight, which means that when we try and pull your shoulder blades back and stretch them, you know, it might be a little bit uncomfortable. You might get pain in your back because those muscles are trying to pull forward. It could be in your hamstrings. You know, I see a lot of short or tight hamstrings these days, you know, be it women who work all days in high heels. So the heels raised, so the hamstrings naturally shorter, which means that, again, they go to walk around barefoot and bring their heel to the floor, and the whole back of their leg can't really stretch to make up that extra distance, you know, so there's tightness there. You know, see quite a lot. And again, I think it's going to be a massive thing coming out of lockdown, and as things go back in some way towards normality. Like I say, and I think movement and flexibility is going to be a big thing that people need to work in, even if that is just before, you know, for like maybe it's a 2, 3, 4 week period before they start chasing those personal bests again, just to get moving, especially if you have taken a little bit of time out. Flexibility is a massive one, and the older you get, the harder it gets. So get on top of it now. You know, you're as young as you're ever going to be. Get on top of it now, and try and stay on top of it, I guess, would be my advice. Okay, guys, then we have got coordination. So coordination is the ability to do a motor task efficiently, you know, being able to, like I say, pair up a stimulus and in your mind. So maybe the reaction time comes into it a little bit, but how well can you sort of see something that you want to do and go and do it? You know, a really, really simple thing like coordination can be me picking up this mug and putting it on my desk in front of us. You know, that's coordination. I've seen something and I've matched up my physical motor task to actually sort of see that through and to make and to get it done. And then there's a more sort of difficult to measure and probably difficult to track coordination in, like little things like throwing darts at the board. You know, I don't know if we can class darts as a sport, but it's definitely a hobby. It's definitely a pastime. Coordination, again, seeing where you want the dart to get to. You've got the whole throwing movement. You've got to think about letting go at the right time. There's a lot of things going into it that you don't necessarily think about at the time. And a lot of that is your coordination. You know, it might be dancing. You know, this idea of, oh, I've got 2 left feet. You know, that might be someone who feels as though they're pretty uncoordinated. You know, they can't put their feet where they need them to. They can't keep in time with the music, whatever it might be. You know, if you've ever tried to play a musical instrument, that takes a lot of coordination sometimes. You know, if you're playing the piano, you're trying to do like the melody and the chords or whatever it might be. Like, there's me absolutely exposing myself as a drummer and not a musician at all. Yeah, you know, but again, it might be playing the guitar, where you're doing like your fret hand to play the chords and you've got the other hand to strum. Doing one without the other, you're not really going to get very far either, you know. So we can see how coordination might pair into a lot of different tasks as well, you know, day to day, not just sports and activity and fitness. You know, coordination, you might be thinking again about things like a golf swing, I guess, you know, how to get the golf swing right, following through, maximum power. But again, you know, even like if you watch Cristiano Ronaldo go up for a header and win a header off a corner, you can't tell me there's no coordination there as well. Planting his feet at the right place, jumping at the right time, getting the right amount of power on his jump. There's so much that goes into it that he's not even thinking about it, and it is just natural coordination that he's probably worked on as well. You know, so that is the sort of thing that we're talking about when we're looking at coordination. Power is of course a little bit different. Power, we're thinking about sort of maximum output or sort of how much mass has been moved across how much distance, for example, you know. So muscular strength might be, I can pick up this thing once, maybe twice, you know, at this weight. Power might be, okay, I threw this 8-kilogram kettlebell 10 yards or whatever it was. That's an idea of power, you know, how much weight and how far has it gone, you know. And that is normally what we're thinking of when we're talking about power, that sort of thing, you know, that big sort of explosive stuff. It is more beneficial to, like I say, probably to somebody like a rugby player, or again, depending on what your sport is, you know, power might be something that's really, really important to have, as opposed to fitness or cardiovascular endurance, you know, or having the right body composition. Maybe it's that power is more important, you know, talking like powerlifting, strongmen, all of that sort of stuff. Okay, then we've got speed, which is it's going to be distance traveled across or divided by time, pretty much. How long has it taken? And that's where we're thinking about speed. How fast have you ran a mile? How fast can you do 100 meters? How fast can you swim 10 lengths? You know, that's your speed. So again, there might be places where that's more important. You know, maybe you are maybe you're a fullback. Again, talking from personal experience, I was always a defender. I was always a left back, and having speed worked really well to get me first one to a loose ball, first one to a deflection, you know, got me into a position where I could make a tackle and go and be there for a 50-50. Whereas if I didn't have that speed, you know, that 50-50 isn't even an option, you know. So that speed benefited me a lot more in that position and in my role than cardiovascular endurance might have done, because I wasn't up and down the pitch all game long. I wasn't a midfielder. I wasn't a wing back, you know. I'm not trying to push forward and support the attack and stuff like that, you know. So speed and reaction time helped me a lot more in that position than like I say, cardiovascular endurance might have done. If I was a centre midfielder whose job was to go box to box, linking defence to attack, that sort of thing, then the cardiovascular endurance is probably going to be a bit more beneficial to me than speed, because I need to be able to do it all game long rather than a little burst of pace here and a little burst of pace there. You need to do it for the 60 minutes, 90 minutes, however long you're playing for. So that is just an example of why speed and, of course, aerobic endurance might differ. If we go back to our athletes and look at our examples that we've got, of course, we've got Usain Bolt is total speed, and Mo Farah is aerobic endurance. And if either of them stepped into the other person's sport, they would probably struggle, you know, because they're trained and, of course, naturally gifted towards other stuff, you know, I guess, really. So yeah, we can just see there how sort of aerobic endurance and speed differ. And then the last one that we've got is agility, which is the ability to sort of change direction quite quickly without losing your balance. Again, if you think about Usain Bolt, doesn't really change direction very much. He like literally goes in the same direction till he crosses the line, really. Whereas, again, coming back to a rugby player, an American footballer, a basketballer, how often do you see them like need to do a feint where it looks like they're going to be in one place and then they'll change direction and like be somewhere else? So the person's trying to tackle them where they thought they were going and totally missed, you know. Again, you see it sometimes in combat sports as well, where someone will move in a way where the opponent thinks, right, they're going to be there, I'll punch there, and then, you know, they've totally moved, they're somewhere else, and all of a sudden you've got a sort of like a hook or a jab or something that you've got to block or dodge coming from a position that you weren't expecting it to. So in that sort of sense, agility can be quite helpful. Football, again, maybe being able to look as though you're going to be in one place and then move somewhere else. Exactly the same sort of thing. Like, Lionel Messi is probably the best person I've ever seen do that in terms of agility. He's not the strongest. He hasn't got the power that Ronaldo's got. He can't get like 12 foot in the air for a header or whatever it is, like ridiculous that Ronaldo's record is. But he was amazing and is amazing at looking like he's going to go one way and then just changing direction and not only keeping his balance but maintaining his speed as well. So whereas you've got the defenders sort of falling over their own feet trying to adjust, Messi's long gone. Do you know what I mean? Like he's left you in the dust, and like I say, he's managed to carry that speed through that movement as well. So if you're on the back foot, you're not catching him. You go on YouTube and type in Messi highlights, and you'll find half an hour long videos of him doing exactly that. He's made a career out of being nippy, hard to get hold of, hard to track, hard to know where he's going to be, and ultimately hard to get the ball off of, I guess. And then we can see straight away it doesn't have some of the other components that other athletes and certainly even just other footballers do. Again, two players playing the same sport, but you would say that Ronaldo's probably got more muscular strength, probably more power, probably more speed. I've never seen the two of them in a race, but I think Ronaldo just again naturally having a little bit more mass, more muscular legs, is probably going to be a little bit faster. But like I say, there's a lot of different components of fitness. And if this is the first time that you're coming across this, maybe you're now starting to get an idea of, maybe, there's a couple of things hitting home like, okay, maybe that's why running doesn't work for me. Or, maybe that's why I absolutely hated going and doing this class or going and doing this sport or whatever. I hated doing that at school when they forced us to do it, Maybe now it's starting to make a little bit of sense. Again, there is nothing that you can't do if you set your mind to it. There's no sport that you are built wrong for if you enjoy it and want to do it. Again, if I really wanted to do sumo wrestling, I could probably go and find somewhere where I could turn up and do a bit of sumo wrestling. Am I going to be the best at it? Probably not. Am I built for it? Definitely not. But if I was in a position where I was looking to find some sustainable exercise that I'm going to be able to stick at each week and I'm going to be able to make into a bit of a routine, I don't necessarily want to go along to something where I'm going to feel like I stick out like a sore thumb on week one. Again, that might come down to your mentality. How do you feel about potentially being a little bit of the odd one out? It affects some people more than others. Like I say, don't let these labels and these terms and this jargon, I guess, don't let it define what you can and can't do. Like I say, like it's just an idea to get a bit of an idea what you might be more naturally sort of inclined towards, right. Okay, I thought we'd had a freeze there, but we're all good. Touch wood, guys. Okay, so a little bit of a recap, and of course the slides are there just in case you do want to come back and sort of revisit any of this without needing to listen to the full 2-hour session and try and find where I'm talking about what. So components to fitness: cardiovascular or aerobic endurance. Cardiovascular or aerobic is normally training that primarily works the heart and the lungs. Yeah, normally for distance and time when we're talking about endurance. Muscular strength: the amount of force a muscle can produce with a single maximum effort. Again, we're talking 1 rep max, doing 1 squat, 1 rep. Again, in the powerlifting, you see them maybe pick up an Atlas stone, or they'll do like a deadlift really heavy, and they'll only do the 1, and then they'll put it down and they'll be done. So that's muscular strength. Muscular endurance, like we said, is the ability of a muscle to continually contract over a period of time against a light to moderate load. So again, if it's too heavy, you're not going to be able to manage enough reps to start to develop muscular endurance and test muscular endurance, because your strength's going to let you down. So again, making sure that if you are trying to look at either of those, test either one of those, develop either one of those, make sure you're looking at the right one. Do you need to be doing a couple of reps or do you need to be doing a lot of reps? Because they're both going to benefit you in different ways. Okay, body composition is the ratio of fat, water, and muscle, like we talked about. Flexibility is the range of movement at each joint. Now, again, sort of to mention that you don't have like a blanket level of flexibility. You know, you might be really, really sort of loose in your shoulders, but your hips might be really, really tight. A lot of it can come from lifestyle and posture and the way that we hold ourselves, and it's not necessarily indicative of how fit you are or how active you are. You know, so yeah, you might be just tight in one area or a couple of areas and not so much in others. Which can lead to pain. Actually, while I'm on, I might as well mention it. If you've got tension in one area and not others, and you've got, like I say, sort of muscles in the back pulling stuff back over and muscles at the front are quite weak, you're going to end up with pain and a little bit imbalance. So again, flexibility, making sure that we've got a good sort of even amount of flexibility all around the body, you know, at each joint. Okay, balance. Balance is the ability to maintain your center of mass over a base of support. So, of course, thinking about even just standing up, you've got both feet underneath you, probably giving you a good base of support. Maybe step a bit wider, you feel a little bit more balanced. If you stand on one leg instead of two, you're probably going to feel a little bit more off balance as well, you know. And again, we've got static balance, which is doing a handstand and holding it, and then we've got dynamic balance, which might be doing a dive off a diving board where you're moving, but you need to stay balanced and in control and sort of up the right way the whole way through and know where's up and where's down and all of that as well. So that's balance. And then we had speed, how fast an athlete could travel over a set distance. And of course, we looked at how that is different to aerobic endurance. Okay, so finishing these up, agility, the ability to quickly and precisely move or change direction without losing balance. Reaction time is the time for an athlete to respond, for example, a sprinter to the start gun. Coordination is the smooth flow of movement needed to perform a motor task efficiently and accurately. And power is a combination of strength, speed and strength as well. So, right, guys, so we'll go from there. Like I say, if there's any of those that you haven't come across before, if there's any of those that you're still a little bit unsure of, stick it in the chat, drop me an email, and of course, I'm happy to try and fill in any blanks for you. Okay, guys, so we're gonna put this into practice then. So we have got a types of fitness word search to do, and it is pretty much fitting in everything that we've just talked about and trying to get them into the right place. So what we'll do, I've got no Hatham to queue up any amazing quiz music for us this morning, and I'm not going to put you through the torture of sitting and singing for you. So we'll just spend a couple of minutes, pick out the ones you can get, maybe even write them down in front of you, maybe just go through, see which ones are where the answers jump out to you a little bit more obviously. And then, yeah, in just a couple of minutes, we'll take our time and we'll work our way through these and fill in the blanks a little bit as well. Right, guys, right. Okay, so if you are following along and you do want to shout out any of the answers, then by all means go for it. If you want to pause it here and take a little bit more time to be able to work through and get all the answers yourself, that's totally fine as well. Pause it here and then you can just get caught up with us whenever you're ready, really. Like I say, rather than rushing through this, if you'd rather spend a little bit more time. Okay, guys, so we'll just start working our way through. Again, if you wanted to jump in, stick it in the chat. Okay, guys, so 4 across. How fast an athlete can travel over a set distance. We've got 4 across. We've got 5 letters. So 4 across is speed. Yeah. Okay, guys, so I might actually kind of put the answers in the chat as we go through. So number 4, crossword answers. So yeah, spoilers, if you have got it paused, or if you are wanting to spend a little bit more time, don't look in the chat. The answers are going to be in the chat. Okay, so 4 across was speed, yeah. Okay, guys, cool. 6 across, the ability to quickly and precisely move and change direction without losing balance, sorry, is, of course, agility. So 6 across, agility. Okay, 7 across, the ability to maintain your center of mass over your base of support. 7 across, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters. 7 across, we have got balance. Yeah, so maintaining your center of mass over a base of support. Yeah, number 7 across is balance. So what I'll do in the chat, I'll put all the across ones first, and then I'll do down after, rather than putting the across or down on each one. Okay, guys. So a combination of speed and strength. 8 across. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 letters. So we've got power. Fits nicely in there. So power is a combination of speed and strength. Yeah. Okay, guys. So 9 across. This type of training works your heart and your lungs. Yeah. So I'm just going to count. Yeah, cool. So, of course, on that last slide, we saw that it could be cardiovascular or aerobic endurance. The answer that fits in there, 9 across, is aerobic endurance. Yeah, so we've got 9 across, aerobic endurance. There we go. And then the last one across, the range of movement at your joints is, of course, flexibility. Yeah, so how well can those joints move through the range that they should be able to, really? Normally you find it's muscle tension stopping you from moving through a certain range, but it can be a skeletal thing as well. It can be to do with bone. So again, something that might need a little bit more sort of reflection on down the line. But number 10 was flexibility. Okay, guys, last 4 then. Last 4. We'll get these wrapped up. So 1 down, we have got smooth flow of movement needed to perform a motor task efficiently and accurately. We had 1 down was coordination. Yeah, so being able to decide on a motor task that you want to do and being able to sort of carry it out fluidly and efficiently and as you intended, I guess. Okay, so 2 down. 2 down, 2 to go. The ability of a muscle to continually contract over a period of time against a light to moderate load. 8 letters and then 9. So one of the longer ones that we've got. 2 down. We've got muscular endurance as well. Yeah. So remember we talked about that being totally different to muscular strength. Endurance is all about that muscle working for a longer amount of time rather than working for harder for a shorter amount of time. Yeah. So 2 down. Muscular endurance. 3 down, time taken to respond. 8 letters and then 4. So 3 down. We have got reaction time. Yeah, we've got reaction time as 3 down. Again, how well can you respond to something and react to something happening in the environment? And then 5 down, the very last one that we've got to do. 5 down, the ratio of muscle, fat, muscle, and water. Yeah, so 4 letters and then 11. 5 down, which is starting here. We have got body composition. Yeah, so again, remember, there's no right and wrong body composition. It depends what you need your body to be able to do, really, the top and bottom of it. Okay, guys, that'll do us for the crossword. Hopefully got a few of those. Hopefully a couple of the answers jumped out to you. Nice and simple, even just before we even started working through those answers as well. If you did pause it to take a little bit more time, drop us an email. Let me know how you got on. Stick it in the chat. Like I say, I'd be interested to know how you got on doing the whole thing sort of before we started working through the answers. Okay, guys, but yeah, do let us know how you got on with that. Right, guys, so I'm going to set myself a little timer, and we're just going to spend 30 seconds or so on each of these questions. Yeah, so we've got a little quiz to do to sort of wrap us up for the day. More to just sort of see how we can apply everything that we've learned today beyond the examples that we've looked at, because like I say, those can be quite extreme examples, because these people are the best at what they do. A lot of their characteristics and a lot of their strengths are just turned up like as high as they'll go, pretty much, really. So yeah, we will take where's my timer? Stopwatch. There we go. That'll do. Okay, guys, so yeah, we'll spend 30 seconds. Grab yourself a pen and paper, use the chat if you want, and we're just going to take a little bit of time to see if we can conjure up any answers to these questions, and then we'll maybe start from the top again and work our way through. Okay, guys, so can you think of 3 sports that require cardiovascular or aerobic endurance? So again, stick it in the chat if you want to, or like I say, I've got a little timer going, and in 20 to 30 seconds we'll move on to the next one. Jot down what you can, and then like I say, we'll spin on to the next one, get to the end, and then we'll come back and work through all of these before we sort of slide off into today's fitness video. I've picked you what I thought to be one of the tougher ones this morning, given it's the last week of the course. Maybe you've worked your way up, maybe you're feeling like a little bit of a challenge. Again, if you're feeling like just doing a stretch, then a little bit of a stretch or a little bit of an easier session, then those are up on the channel as well, and you can just go straight to the playlist. Okay, guys, moving on. Question 2. Can you think of 3 sports an ectomorph body type might be suited to? What do we reckon? Ectomorph body type, 3 specific sports, and how they might be well suited. And of course, I'll just jot down some answers as I go myself, and then it'd be interested, like I say, to hear what you guys come up with as well. Tilt this down. Okay. Okay, guys, moving on. Question 3. Can you think of 3 sports that require good balance? What do we reckon, guys? Good balance. Okay, next one. Can you think of 3 sports an endomorph body type might be suited to? An endomorph. Okay, next one. Can you think of 3 sports that require a particular body composition? Number 6, can you think of 3 sports that a mesomorph body type might be suited to? Okay, number 7, can you think of 3 sports that require good coordination? Okay, number 8, can you think of 3 sports that require good agility? And if you want to, you could always, if it's a sport and a team sport, you're more than welcome to specify a particular position within that sport that they might be more suited to. So good coordination. Okay, we've done it. Okay, guys, number 8. Yeah. Can you think of 3 sports that require good agility? Coordination. What do we think about agility? Okay, spinning on. Can you think of 3 sports that require an element of speed? Number 10, can you think of 3 sports that require power? Yes, the last couple of questions. Can you think of 3 sports that require a good reaction time? And can you think of 3 sports that require good flexibility? And that is all of them, guys. That is all of them. So take a second to just finish up the one that you're on, and we'll go back to the start and we'll work our way through and see if we can't break these down a little bit and get these questions answered. Okay, guys, so if you want a bit more time, again, feel free to pause it there. If not, we'll just start working our way through, and like I say, we'll get these rattled off. So can you think of 3 sports that require good cardiovascular aerobic endurance? So first of all, my mind straight away goes to the likes of anything over long distance. So long distance running, anything that we're doing like a marathon, a park run, Great North Run, Race for Life. I know they're more events than sports, so that's a lot of running, cardiovascular and aerobic endurance. Of course, triathletes, or multiple event activities. I guess decathlons, triathlons, heptathlons, all of them, all the athlons. Yeah. Really good cardiovascular aerobic endurance needed, because again, just going for so far and going for so long. And of course, like I mentioned earlier on, within certain systems, I guess, within certain positions, midfielders in football, centre midfielders might need really good cardiovascular aerobic endurance, to be up and down the pitch as much as they are, rather than a defender that doesn't need to be up and down quite so much. So yeah, in football as well, aerobic endurance is going to go a long way. Could be the difference, if you're the one who's still a little bit fresher in the 90th minute. How often do we see a late goal be the difference? Because one team's getting a little bit more tired, maybe he's not as quick to react or not as quick to the ball. Okay, guys, number 2, can you think of 3 sports that an ectomorph body type might be suited to? Right, I should be able to, because I am one. So I would definitely say horse riding and jockeying. Really good as an ectomorph, because you've got less weight to carry to slow the horse down. Rock climbing, bouldering, that sort of thing, because again, you're carrying less weight when you're climbing up this wall or whatever it is that you're going. And then again, ectomorphs are really good for stuff like the heptathlons and triathlons, because again, it's just less weight to carry across that big distance. Carrying an extra kilogram or 2 isn't much over 100 yards, but when it's over miles and miles, it really does start to add up and can make a big difference. So ectomorphs really tend to be quite good at the endurance sort of stuff. Okay, 3 sports that require good balance. Okay, so I guess you could say a lot of the combat sports require you to have good balance, because if you fall over, you tend to be knackered, especially in stuff like MMA, UFC, all of that sort of thing. If somebody can get on top of you because you've lost your balance, it's not going to go very well for you. Gymnastics, of course, we need balance. The Olympic diving and all of that, again, when we're talking about dynamic balance, all of that requires balance, and being able to enter the water in the shape and the position that they wanted to, and control everything up to that point. That's balance, that's control. I've got, of course, figure skating, skateboarding, dancing, all requires balance. Again, thinking about activities as well as sports, So a lot there that might require some balance and some form of balance for sure. Number 4, can you think of 3 sports an endomorph body type might be suited towards? So of course we've got, I mentioned earlier on, powerlifting, strongman competitions, um, sumo wrestling, rugby, certain positions within certain sports. Again, I've seen endomorphs play centre back over the years. I've, truth be told, I've probably seen some endomorphs play centre mid. If you go back as far as like Paul Gascoigne and stuff, he was hardly peak physical fitness at the time. Get pie at half time and all of that. But yeah, certainly again, a centre in basketball is probably going to be, or could be an endomorph. Again, if you think about somebody like Shaquille O'Neal, the extra mass and the extra weight that he had just made him the dominant force that he was. If he didn't have the body type that he did, he's probably not in the Hall of Fame. He's probably not won 4 championships. A lot of it came from his body type and his genetics. So yeah, a couple of different sports there that endomorph might be suited towards. Number 5, can you think of 3 sports that require a particular body composition? Now, again, like I mentioned earlier on, a lot of sports are going to require a particular body composition. If you are a dancer or a figure skater and you've got somebody trying to pick you up or lift you, or maybe you need to be the one doing the lifting, you need a particular amount of muscle to do it. You need to really not be carrying any more fat or weight than you need it to be, or than you need to be, because it's just more for either yourself to carry or the other person to carry you if you're doing lifts and stuff like that. So there's that. You think, like, my mind immediately went to something like rowing, like saying the Olympic rowing, and you see like those athletes have big defined shoulders and backs, and like if you don't have that muscle, you're going to get absolutely blown out of water in like rowing and probably even swimming and stuff like that as well. Then we're thinking about, again, you might class bodybuilding as a sport, you might not. But bodybuilding's another one where you really do need a particular sort of body composition, and all of your training and all your nutrition is based around that, really. So again, most sports are going to require a particular body composition, but those are just a few different examples I can think of where specific body compositions might be needed. Okay, number 6, can you think of 3 sports a mesomorph body type might be suited to? So, of course, straight away, mesomorph's got to be really good at bodybuilding. Again, a lot of basketballers are mesomorphs just because they're athletes at the end of the day. There might be other sort of competitions. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, something where extra muscle really helps, but the extra fat not so much. Again, sprinting. We look at Usain Bolt, he's a mesomorph because he's got the power. An ectomorph, as quick as they can be across short distances, they tend to not have the power that the muscle of a mesomorph brings to the table. So mesomorphs tend to be much better at sprinting, ectomorphs more long distance, coming back to that Usain Bolt and Mo Farah sort of example that we've used all morning. Okay, so that's mesomorphs done. Number 7, can you think of 3 sports that require good coordination? Of course, I was thinking fencing, of course, where you're not sticking a fence up in the garden, but where you've got the masks on, where you look like beekeepers and you're fencing with the swords. That requires coordination. Of course, anything where like even like the shot put, where you've got to like spin and release at the right time, that takes coordination. The high jump and that's the triple jump that gets me, the hop and the skip and the jump. Like, I've always thought myself as being quite coordinated, but like the high jump just used to turn me in knots, just trying to put all those different steps together. So that requires coordination. We mentioned earlier on as well, sort of any racket sports, anything where you've got to sort of hit a ball, you've got to see a ball coming at you, and you've actually got to make sure that your racket is in the right place to hit it. You might have the fitness to get you into the place to return the ball, but if you haven't got the coordination to hit it with your racket, you've just run potentially a long way for no reason, really. You've lost the point because you haven't managed to hit the ball back. So again, tennis, squash, badminton, any of those racket sports, like I mentioned earlier, like golf, getting all the parts of the movement down. Cricket, baseball, where again you've got something coming at you and you've got to hit it. Really good coordination needed there. It always baffles me in the baseball. I don't watch it, to be honest, but it's always baffled me how that ball, that big, moving at like 100 miles an hour, you're meant to hit it with a bat that is as wide as the ball. Like it absolutely amazes me that they managed to do it when you look at how quick that ball moves. So that's a little bit of coordination and I guess a little bit of reaction time as well. Okay then, number 8. Can you think of 3 sports that require good agility? And again, thinking racket sports where you've got to hit the ball and then move position. You've got to like run to there, hit the ball back. You maybe even haven't planted your foot for your final step, and then you need to be pushing off into a different direction. You've normally got to take your speed with you as well. Agility, we could be thinking about. Again, I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of positions within sports and maneuvers within sports where it's going to pay you to be able to change direction pretty quickly, be that selling a dummy in or selling a body feint in football or rugby or any contact sport really, where somebody's trying to get the ball off you. If you can quickly move direction, it's going to be to your advantage quite a lot. So a lot of sports there really that would benefit from good agility. Okay, guys, so number 9, can you think of 3 sports that require an element of speed? Of course, again, we're thinking, of course, sprinting, any form of running, really, cycling, needing a little bit of time, definitely sprinting, more so than long distance, I would probably say, but requiring an element of speed. Again, different positions within different sports, like I say, some attackers in football benefit from being a little bit quicker and they can make runs behind the defense for the ball over the top or whatever it might be, so it's not as though everybody in a football team needs to be fast, but having one or two quicker players can give you an advantage in a game, that's for sure. Number 10, can you think of 3 sports that require power? So again, we're thinking about, of course, powerlifting, strongman sort of stuff, shot put, discus, javelin, anything that you've got to throw something for a distance, really, would all be coming back to power, really, I guess. Funnily enough, rowing, again, could be another one, because not only do you need the muscles and the body composition to move through the water, you need actually the power to be put into each stroke, so it might not be overall pure power, but it's power from the muscles that you're working. And like I say, with a rower, it's going to be back and shoulders, because like I say, the muscles on those athletes are something else. So yeah, a few different ones there that require power. And again, you need to only look at the Olympics at the minute. It's a really good time to be thinking about these components, because you can look at all the different events that are going on and think about, okay, what components are letting these be the best in the world? Why are these here? Why are these people that are this shape and this body type, why are these all doing this thing? You might pick up on it, you might think, oh, hang on a second, like I'm watching the shot put, and like, yeah, most people are like a little bit broader, a little bit stockier, maybe they are endo meets meso somewhere down the line, and it's a really good time to put it into practice, like I say. Okay, last couple. Can you think of 3 sports that require a good reaction time? Again, we'd mentioned earlier on, anything that you need to be quick off the line, sprinting, swimming, cycling, any of those competitions. Again, thinking about a good reaction time, being a goalkeeper or a defender or sometimes a striker, being the first one to react to a loose ball in basketball, football, rugby, whatever it is, gives your team a direct advantage, those reaction times. And like I've said, sort of in the Olympics, again, reaction time, being the first off the blocks, can be the difference between a gold medal and not making the podium at all, So again, we can see a lot of examples of where reaction time could come in handy. And certainly play a role in the outcome. Can you think of 3 sports that require good flexibility? And then, just because this was the last one to finish us up. So again, gymnastics, dancing requires getting your body into sort of shapes and positions that you might not otherwise. Again, I see it a lot in the basketball, where you'll see a guy go up for sort of like a layup or whatever it is. And like next thing you know, he's like twisted his body into such a shape to get around the defender and to get the shot up before his foot touches the floor again. And you're like, how's he in that position? Like, I couldn't get into that position if I wanted to. Like, if you've ever seen like the logo for Air Jordan, or for like well, yeah, any like Air Jordan merch, you'll notice that even the iconic picture of Michael Jordan, like ready to slam dunk the ball, his legs are like so wide in a position where like my legs wouldn't get like that, you know. And it makes the foundation of the shot being that little bit more flexible and that little bit more sort of wiry as well, I guess, and being athletic and having the coordination and the agility. It all goes into it. It's a really sort of athletic sport that I've only picked up on more over the last few years as I've started watching it. But flexibility is a good one there. And of course, any of the gymnastics based stuff, you know, be it the beam work, be it on the bars, be it on the vault or the pommel horse or whatever it is, you know, a floor routine, flexibility goes a long way. So like I say, flexibility, just day-to-day stuff as well, you know, coming away from sports a little bit, tying your shoes, making the bed, putting stuff in the loft, getting in and out of the car. That's where your flexibility is going to go and work wonders, especially for yourself, you know, and where that little bit of stretching is going to really start to come in handy, and just working on our flexibility a little bit more. So that puts us in a really, really good position to sort of wrap up for the day. And like I say, you guys can maybe, like I say, if you are watching the Olympics, maybe it's even something that you've already been doing and thinking about. If not, maybe something that you can go forward and start doing, you know, in the next couple of weeks as well. As we sort of get deeper into the Olympics, and you might sort of pick out on certain athletes that are having a really good tournament, you know, and again, you might be looking at them and other people in their field and thinking, why are these running away with the competition every time? You know, why are these sort of top of the bag, top of the game, compared to the other athletes? What's making the difference? You know, is it something that's genetic? Is it something that's showing in their physique? You know, are the clues there, or is there more to it? You know, so yeah. A lot that we can do with today's session. And like I say, the whole point of today's session really is so that we can start to think in this way about our own fitness. Do you know what I mean? It's all well and good to be thinking about what Usain Bolt's doing, like, but he's got endorsement. He's set for life. You know, he's pretty much retired. He's not worrying about what we're doing. So we need to worry about what we're doing, and that's where all of this comes in. You know, so if it isn't something that's really crossed your mind recently, and again, coming out of lockdown, maybe it's a good time to think about it. When you say fitness and when you say fit, and when you are hopefully saying to yourself, look, I want to get back on top of my fitness, what does that word fitness mean to you? Looking at these different components, what does fitness mean to you? Because it's a different example to everybody. To some people, it's being able to go out and run a marathon. To some people, it's being able to get up and down the stairs without getting out of breath. It depends on who you are, what your day-to-day looks like, what challenges you have and that you've maybe faced day-to-day, what barriers to exercise have you got. But what is important to you, and why, and what you maybe think is the most important thing for you to start working on now. You know, for a lot of people, you know, a lot of people are probably going to be saying, oh, I've put a little bit of weight on over lockdown, I want to work on my body composition. That will come with time. That will come from working on the other stuff as well. Because I can guarantee you that there's not really anybody coming out of lockdown that is just going to have body composition to think about. You know, do you need to work on your flexibility a little bit more? Probably. You know, do we need to work on our reaction time a little bit more and our coordination? Probably as well. You know, so there's a lot of stuff out there that's going to be different for each of us. So it's a really good time, like I say, to be thinking about what fitness means to you, what's important to you, and where you actually want to start. If you can begin to identify your own body type or start to see characteristics from maybe a couple of them, then that's great as well, because that maybe shines light into a couple of different corners that's going to give you an example of where's a good place to actually start with exercises. If you're in a position where, you know, we've done not only today's session, but we've done the whole course, maybe you've done some of the other courses as well, and you're still a little bit lost at where to start, where to begin, maybe consider, of course, exploring what's out there and available to you, but also consider joining in our Monday morning drop-in sessions as well, you know, where we're going to be focusing on, now that things are opening up, we're going to be looking at exploring different options of being active that are available to you in your area, that you can go and do and sort of hit your components of fitness, but also matches up other commitments that you've got as well, and other barriers that you might be facing, be it work commitments, getting the kids from school, cooking tea, meal prep, whatever it might be. The aim is to find a way to get you active that complements everything else and doesn't clash with it, because if they clash, you're only going to maintain them both for so long and one of them will drop off. And it's probably going to be exercise, because feeding your kids isn't something, do you know what I mean, that you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm just not going to do that, I'm going to go to the gym today. So like I say, there are going to be other commitments that you need to think about. So yeah, we are going to be trying to find and explore stuff in the area that is going to be available to yourself to go off and do as well. So yeah, by all means, especially as we don't right now have any sort of confirmation on upcoming courses from the sort of August onwards. So again, if you do want to stay involved in the time being, the drop-ins are always there. You're more than welcome to just sort of follow the Zoom link on a Monday morning, and it'll be me and just a couple of the guys, and we'll like I say, we'll just go over a couple of different bits to do with sort of self-care during lockdown, good food, getting exercise in and stuff like that as well. If you do want to do that and also be on like an emailing list, so I'll let you know when we do have stuff booked in, and when we've got details on what courses are coming up, I can get that out to you immediately as well. So let me know either both of those, if you're interested in either or both of those, and like I say, I can get that sorted for you on this end as well. If for any reason you've missed any of the sessions or don't have access to all of the sessions yet, let me know, and again, I'll make sure that you've got the links so you can go back and revise anything that we've been over, or you can catch up on anything that you've missed. Just a reminder that there's no extra work, no extra workbooks that was included with this course. So there's nothing to submit on your end. There's nothing to hand in. We can wrap up here, I guess, guys. We can sort of call it there, and we can start thinking about what we're going to do for our own fitness going forward, especially bridging the next couple of weeks, where hopefully we're trying to get some activity in, we're trying to get fit, we're trying to get a little bit more active, and of course thinking about our food a little bit more as well, which is something that we look at in the drop-ins as well. So if that's something that you feel like you need a little bit of guidance with, then by all means let me know. I'll get those links over to you. So other than that, guys, we can about call it there then. As always, guys, please don't forget to complete the survey that's there. I'm just going to double check because I haven't got me normal Copilot. Yeah, the survey is in the can I copy and paste that on my phone? Probably not. No, I can't copy and paste it, but it's in the description for the video. So if you go underneath the video, there should be a little drop down arrow, and then it's got not only the survey in there for you to go and do, but it's got today's fitness video, and it's got my contact email in there as well. Now you should, because I've emailed the session out this morning, you should all have my email by now, but if you need it, it's there. If you need to ask for anything, it's there, and I'm obviously here to contact. The fitness video, like I mentioned earlier on, I've picked a tougher one today. I've given you a little bit of a challenge, but that link will take you straight to our Media Savvy playlist, where you can pick from. I think there's 9 or 10 different videos on there where you can pick, okay, I want to do an abs workout. Do you know what? I'm feeling more of a stretch today, or I want to do something for my legs and my bum. There's something on there for everybody, So again, if you're not particularly feeling that session, go check out the rest and try and find something that'll just get you moving. And of course, you can visit that playlist and use those links anytime you want as well, not just at the end of a session as well. So if you find yourself motivated during the week and you want to get moving, you're not really sure where to start, that's all on the YouTube channel as well. As always, guys, like I mentioned, please don't forget to just fill in the survey. It's not even 30 seconds, and your feedback's so important to us. It lets us know what we're doing well and where we can improve and make you guys even more, and give you guys what you need and deliver in a way that you're going to get the most out of it, I guess. So guys, we'll leave it there then for today. Like I say, I hope you've enjoyed all of the sessions that we've done, be it just this course, or maybe you've done a couple of other courses with us over the last sort of academic year. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, guys. I mean, some of yourselves will know by now that it's kind of been my first year doing it as well, I guess. So, it has been an eye-opening experience. It's been, like I say, an absolute pleasure. And I'm feeling pretty blessed that we've had the technology and the ability to stay connected through all of this and sort of stay engaged and stay on track and stay, like I say, interacting with our food and our exercise, because you know there's been a lot of reason not to for the last year. There's been a lot of other priorities that have probably come up that have pushed food and exercise and stuff like that to the back of your mind, to the back of the priorities list. Hopefully we're doing a little bit of a reshuffle where we're thinking about, okay, what does normality look like? What does life look like going forward now that we're not hopefully looking at on and off lockdowns and stuff like that as well, So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can start to get something sustainable in place. Now, again, like I say, if that's not sure, if you're not sure where to go from here, what activities to look into, reach out, let me know, and I'll do my best to sort of point you in the right direction and get the right information in front of you. Other than that, guys, thank you for choosing Media Savvy. Thank you for spending the morning with us. Thank you for spending your time catching up with the sessions, if that's how you've done it. And of course, thank you for to everybody that I've interacted with for over the last year. Like I say, it's been absolutely amazing, and looking forward to getting some stuff nailed down for next year. Get the information out to you guys and sort of hit the ground running as well, and see what the next year brings. And hopefully that doesn't include any more lockdowns or entirely necessary distance learning. While it works, we can try and make it work. But hopefully the aim is to eventually be back in person, back in the classroom, face to face, and be able to interact in ways that we just can't over Zoom and over virtual sort of environments and stuff like that. But you guys have probably heard enough of me talking this morning, especially without here for me to break me up a little bit. So have a good day, guys. Have a good week. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Take care of the people around you. And I will hopefully catch you on either one of our drop-in sessions or some of the upcoming courses when we've got a little bit more information about what that's going to involve. But like I say, have a good day, guys. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. And I'll catch you on the next one. Cool. Thanks a lot.